Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing well. So in today's video we are going to learn about the anti-diabetic drugs. Please listen it very carefully because in the end of this video I am going to ask you some questions which you have to give me answers. So let's start from the general introductory part. As we all know that in the pancreas there are three types of cells: alpha cell, beta cell and delta cell. From the alpha cell release glucagon, beta cell release amylin, insulin and C-peptide. Insulin as we remember most of the time, but amylin and C-peptide we forget it. So from the beta cell we have to learn that beta cell release insulin, amylin and C-peptide. And from the delta cell release somatostatin. So when will be glucagon is going to release so glucagon is released when in our blood there is decreased amount of glucose. So in hypoglycemic state, glucagon is released from the alpha cell of the pancreas. So glucagon is used for hypoglycemia. And beta cell is released insulin when we have increased amount of glucose in our body, when we have increased amount of glucose in our blood, hyperglycemic state. So insulin is released in hyperglycemic state and also used in diabetes mellitus 1 or insulin independent diabetes mellitus. Now let's talk about the insulin. So in diabetes patient we mostly give them insulin. So what are the routes of administration of insulin? So first, the most common route is subcutaneous route. We have to learn it by heart that the most common route by which we give insulin to the patient is subcutaneous routes. So what are the sites of administration of the insulin in the subcutaneous route? So mostly we give it anterior or lateral thigh. We can give it in anterior side of the thigh, or we can give it lateral to the thigh, or we can give on buttocks. But the most important that we can give it in entire abdomen. As we see here, we can give it in entire abdomen except the area around the umbilicus. Why? Because the skin is not in the uniform state. So that's why we are not giving in the around the umbilical area. Now the second route is the intravenous route. By intravenous we give regular insulin, and regular insulin is the drug of choice in diabetic ketoacidosis and diabetes mellitus type 1. Third route is the inhalational route. We can give insulin by inhalational route also, and there are two drugs like Afrezza and Exubera. Now Afrezza is banned because Afrezza leads to pulmonary complication. That's why Afrezza is withdrawn from the market. But Exubera is given, as we all know that it is short acting and we have to give it before meals. So now the preparation, like what kind of insulin we have rapid acting insulin, short acting insulin, long acting insulin, ultra long acting insulin and intermediate acting. In rapid acting insulin means these are short acting, means they act very fastly. So these were fast acting insulin. So if they are fast acting insulin, so fast, like in fast also FAST, S will come, fast also S is come. So the names in the drugs also contains S. So like Lispro, Aspart and Glulicin. Lispro, Aspart and Glulicin all have SSS. If we sometimes forget about that it is short acting or it is rapid acting insulin, so we have to remember rapid acting means rapid act, means it's fast acting. So in fast acting, as S is common, so in drugs also there is S is common, like Lispro, Aspart and Glulicin. So now the other preparation is short acting insulin. In short acting insulin we give regular insulin, as I told above that it is the drug of choice in the diabetic ketoacidosis and type 1 diabetes mellitus. And second is Semilante. And in long acting there is Ultralante, and in ultra long acting the longest acting insulin is Glargine, Degludec and Detamir. Glargine and Degludec were the longest acting insulin. So basically all are present at the neutral pH, but Glargine is present is available at the pH less than 4, means it is acidic. So Glargine is available at the pH less than 4. And next is intermediate acting. In intermediate acting we have NPH and LANT. Intermediate, in intermediate N is come, and in drugs name also NPH and LANT, both have NN. Now what is the adverse effect of insulin? As I told you that insulin, when will going to insulin release? Insulin is released when we have hyperglycemia, then insulin release. So the adverse effect of the insulin is like when insulin release, it decrease the amount of glucose in our blood. So if it sometimes we have give large doses, as much which is required we give it in large dose, then it leads to hypoglycemia. So hypoglycemia is the adverse effect of the insulin. The next, how insulin is going to release from the beta cell, how the process takes place in the beta cell that it leads to increase insulin. So basically this is the blood vessel, and insulin is released when we have hyperglycemia, means when in blood there is increased amount of glucose. So in beta cell and blood vessels we have GLUT2 receptors, as we see, as I made here, that we have GLUT2 receptors. From the GLUT2 there is increase of glucose. So beta cell senses that there is increased level of glucose in the blood. So as glucose increase, ATP is also increased. So we have ATP sensitive potassium channel. We have ATP sensitive potassium channel, which are here. So ATP sensitive potassium channel, also known as sulfonylurea receptors, also known as sulfonylurea receptors. So ATP sensitive potassium channel is going to close. So as there is increased amount of ATP, potassium channel is closed. So as the potassium channel closed, so potassium does not go out into the blood vessel. So there is increased amount of glucose inside the beta cell. So as the potassium level is increased, when the potassium level is increased, so it changes the resting membrane potential from -90 to -40 millivolt. So as the resting membrane potential changes from -90 to -40, then calcium channel is open. Calcium channel will open and calcium enter into the beta cell. So calcium enter into the beta cell. Now we have three things: calcium, potassium and ATP. These three leads to release the insulin. By which mechanism, by which process? Exocytosis of insulin will happen. So for exocytosis of insulin we need three things: calcium, ATP and potassium. So calcium, ATP and potassium, these three things leads to the exocytosis of insulin. So now we are going to learn about the drugs. So how the drugs lead to increase the insulin and leads to decrease glucose. So first there were sulfonylurea drugs. So in sulfonylurea drugs, they act on the sulfonylurea receptors and closes the ATP sensitive potassium channel. As the ATP sensitive potassium channel, potassium increase, calcium increase and insulin is released into the blood. So sulfonylurea, the first generation, second generation drugs. In first generation drugs we have chlorpropamide, tolbutamide. Two drugs, first generation drugs of sulfonylurea, chlorpropamide, tolbutamide, both have ide. So if any drugs have ending ide, it leads to hypoglycemia. It leads to hypoglycemia. So hypoglycemia is the side effect. So chlorpropamide, tolbutamide. So these were the first generation sulfonylurea drugs. Second generation we have glipizide, gliclazide, glibenclamide. All have ide. Second generation were glipizide, gliclazide and glibenclamide. Second drugs were meglitinides. In meglitinides we have two drugs, nati and repaglinide. Natiglinide, repaglinide. These were meglitinides drugs. Actually these were short acting drugs, so we have to use them in postprandial hyperglycemia. Just after the meal we use, if the level of glucose is increased, then we use nati and repaglinide. So these were the two drugs which increase the insulin and insulin will decrease glucose. Now particular about the drugs like sulfonylurea, the side effect is hypoglycemia because they have ending ide, chlorpropamide, tolbutamide. And second is they lead to weight gain. We must remember this point, that they lead to weight gain. Which drugs in anti-diabetic drugs lead to weight gain? Those were sulfonylurea drugs, and mostly first generation drugs. Mostly the first generation drugs leads to the weight gain. Second, chlorpropamide. What do you know about chlorpropamide? As we study above, it is the sulfonylurea first generation drugs, chlorpropamide. So the side effects like chlorpropamide, C for cholestatic jaundice, C for chlorpropamide, C for cholestatic jaundice. It leads to cholestatic jaundice, and it also inhibit the aldehyde dehydrogenase enzyme. That's why disulfiram like reaction means intolerance to alcohol, means it inhibit the aldehyde dehydrogenase enzyme. And second, it increase the ADH level, so syndrome of inappropriate antidiuretic hormone occurs. So we can use it in both diabetes insipidus and diabetes mellitus. So we use it in both. Chlorpropamide is used in both diabetes insipidus and diabetes mellitus. I am not telling that it is used in both type 1 and type 2. I am telling you that it is used in diabetes insipidus and diabetes mellitus. So this is about the chlorpropamide. Now the other drugs which directly decrease the glucose without releasing insulin. So now we are talking about the drugs which directly decrease the glucose without releasing insulin. Can you please tell me the two drugs which increase the insulin and then it decrease glucose? So those were sulfonylurea drugs and glinides drugs. So okay, now we are going to study the drugs which directly decrease glucose without releasing insulin. So in this, first we have metformin, fenformin. Metformin drugs, fenformin drugs. As we all know, metformin and fenformin drugs. So in metformin drugs, we have like these acts by both these drugs acts by activating an enzyme, that is AMP kinase. So AMP kinase, what it does, it have kinase, as we learn in chemistry that kinase leads to the phosphorylation of the product. So AMP kinase, it phosphorylate the rate limiting enzymes of many metabolic pathway, and it activates some pathway and deactivates some pathway and finally decrease the glucose. So AMP kinase, what were the pathways which get activated and what were the pathways which get inactivated were like it inhibit the gluconeogenesis because it decrease the glucose. So glucose is decreased. So why gluconeogenesis means formation of glucose. So here glucose is decreased. So it means it inhibit the gluconeogenesis. Glycogenolysis. It also inhibit the glycogenolysis because glycogen is breakdown into glucose. So that's why we have to decrease the glucose. So that's why glycogenolysis pathway also inhibit. So AMP kinase inhibit the glycogenolysis pathway, gluconeogenesis pathway, and it stimulate the glycogenesis, means it form the glycogen from the glucose, it form the glycogen. So it activate the pathway of formation of glycogen. So glycogenesis activated pathway and glycolysis means breakdown of glucose is also activated. So which two pathway activated? Glycogenesis and glycolysis. Which two pathway inhibited? Gluconeogenesis and glycogenolysis. So now these were the mechanism of the metformin and fenformin drugs. Now we have to talk about the metformin drugs. So as we all know that metformin is the drug of choice in type 2 diabetes mellitus. As we all know, metformin is the drug of choice in type 2 diabetes mellitus. So here the side effect of metformin and fenformin is like lactic acidosis and megaloblastic anemia. So fenformin is mostly associated with lactic acidosis. I am not telling you that metformin does not have side effect of lactic acidosis. It also have the side effect of lactic acidosis, but with comparison to fenformin, it have less side effect of lactic acidosis. Mostly fenformin is associated with lactic acidosis, so that's why I wrote here that fenformin is mostly associated with lactic acidosis and metformin is mostly associated with megaloblastic anemia. So just remember M for metformin, M for megaloblastic anemia. This is the side effect of the metformin. You must remember it. The side effect of the metformin is megaloblastic anemia and fenformin is lactic acidosis. So can you please tell me in which conditions metformin is contraindicated? So basically metformin is contraindicated in lungs disease, liver or renal damage. In these three conditions metformin is contraindicated: lungs, liver and renal damage. Metformin is contraindicated and the side effect of metformin is megaloblastic anemia. And metformin act by cyclic AMP kinase pathway. AMP kinase which phosphorylates some rate limiting enzymes and they activate or deactivate some paths. So like metformin, I already told you about this. Metformin is the drug of choice of type 2 diabetes mellitus and it has the maximum decrease of glycated level. It decreases maximum glycated level and it causes weight loss. Can you here tell me which drug cause the increase the weight? Which drugs have like it decrease the weight? Which drug increase the weight? Means weight gain. In which antibiotic drugs there is weight gain? That is sulfonylurea drugs in which there is weight gain, and in metformin there is weight loss. So for this I usually made one trick, that is most. M for metformin, O for obese, means this metformin is used in obese people because they leads to weight loss. So in obese people if we give them, they cause weight loss. And in as for sulfonylurea and used in thin people because sulfonylurea they increase the weight gain. That's why we are going to use in thin person. And metformin leads to decrease weight. So we are going to use in obese people. So MOST, most is the trick. MOST, metformin leads to obese, given in obese person, and sulfonylurea is given in thin person. So these were the points about the metformin. And we also use in polycystic ovarian disease person. Polycystic ovarian disease person because they reverse the insulin resistance in female. That's why we can use in polycystic ovarian disease. Now the third drug is glitazone. First one is metformin, second is fenformin, third one is glitazones. Glitazones also known as thiazolidinediones. Thiazolidinediones. In this we have three drugs: tro, ros, pio. Glitazones. Tro, ros, pio. I personally made this trick like tro, bro, ros, pio. So troglitazone, rosglitazone and pioglitazones. And they have side effect like pio means पानी जब हम पीते हैं तो ब्लैडर में यूरिन आता है तो उसकी वजह से. सो pioglitazones have risk of bladder cancer, rosiglitazones have risk of MI, myocardial infarction, and troglitazones have maximum hepatotoxicity. So maximum hepatotoxicity is from the troglitazones. All three also have the side effect of hepatotoxicity, but the maximum is with troglitazones. And pioglitazones have risk of bladder cancer, rosiglitazones have risk of myocardial infarction, and troglitazones have maximum hepatotoxicity. So basically these drugs cause retention of sodium and water. That's why these were they cause the macular edema. So that's why side effect is macular edema. So there is one question, which drug cause the macular edema? So glitazone drugs cause the macular edema. Remember it. And glitazones, how they work, they act by stimulating the nuclear receptor, that is PPAR gamma receptor. PPAR gamma receptors, and PPAR gamma receptor is also stimulated by telmisartan. Remember it, telmisartan also stimulate the PPAR gamma receptor. So you have to remember this point also. Telmisartan, which is the angiotensin receptor blocker drug, it also stimulates the PPAR gamma receptors. And the side effect of glitazone is macular edema. Now the fourth one is the alpha glucosidase inhibitor drugs. Alpha glucosidase inhibitor, basically what does alpha glucosidase does? It break down the longer carbohydrate molecules into the smaller particles, smaller compounds. So that's why it inhibit the absorption of carbohydrates. If we inhibit alpha glucosidase, if we inhibit it, then it inhibit the absorption of carbohydrate. So basically in these conditions there is complex carbohydrate which they multiply by the bacteria in the GIT, and there is formation of lot of gas, and the side effect leads to the flatulence. Side effect lead to the flatulence. So alpha glucosidase inhibitor have side effect flatulence, and they are contraindicated in inflammatory bowel disease like ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. So what were the names of these drugs? Alpha glucosidase inhibitor, acarbose, miglitol, voglibose. Acarbose, miglitol and voglibose. These were the drugs of alpha glucosidase inhibitor. So basically in the drugs which directly decrease the glucose were without releasing insulin there were 4 drugs: metformin, fenformin, glitazones and alpha glucosidase inhibitor. Okay, and the drugs which release the insulin and then it going to decrease the glucose were 2 drugs: sulfonylurea and meglitidenide drugs. Now some new anti-diabetic drugs which were helpful in diabetic patients were like incretins, as these were the normal physiological substances. These were the normal physiological substances. So incretins, basically what did they do? They stimulate the release of insulin, they decrease the appetite. They decrease appetite. How did they do it? They decrease the gastric emptying and they stimulate the satiety center in brain. That's how it decreases the appetite. And incretins also inhibit the apoptosis of beta cell of pancreas, so that beta cell easily release the insulin. And most important endogenous incretins, can you tell me which is the most important endogenous incretin is? So the most important endogenous, I am telling you, endogenous incretin is glucagon like peptide. Glucagon like peptide. These were basically type 1 and type 2. I am going to tell you in few minutes about glucagon like peptide 1 and glucagon like peptide 2. So glucagon like peptide is metabolized by DPP4. DPP4, glucagon like peptide metabolized by DPP4 and then they become inactive. So we have to do, we have to increase the insulin level. So we have to inhibit this DPP4 and stimulate this glucagon like peptide. So we have two methods. So now we have to understand what are the drugs including in these methods. Like we give glucagon like peptide one analog from outside. We give, if this pathway is inactive, then either we give from the outside glucagon like peptide so that it increase the level of insulin, or we can directly inhibit the DPP4 so that glucagon like peptide does not become inactive. So first give glucagon like peptide from outside. These were exenatide, means tide will come in the ending. Tide. Exenatide. So in exenatide, we give it by subcutaneous route, and the side effect were, major side effect is acute pancreatitis, and the most common side effect is nausea. Here are two things: major side effect and most common side effect. Most common side effect is nausea and major side effect is acute pancreatitis, and it also increase the risk of medullary carcinoma of thyroid. It also increase the risk of medullary carcinoma of thyroid. So basically glucagon like peptide 1, it increase the insulin level, and glucagon like peptide 2, it decrease the gastric emptying. So as the gastric emptying it decrease, then same it works as the incretins. So second were glutides. Glutide, Lera, LB, Dula, Simatedu. So Sima Leri Albidula Tedu. I made this general trick for my remembrance. Sima Leri Albidula Tedu. Simadulla albilera tedu. Simadulla albilera tedu. Glutide, glutide, glutide. Semaglutide is orally given. Semaglutide is orally, and all other were subcutaneously act. So basically teduglutide is glucagon-like peptide 2 analog, and all other were glucagon-like peptide 1 analog. So glucagon-like peptide 1 analog include all these three except tedu, because tedu is glucagon-like peptide 2 analog. So basically teduglutide is indicated in short bowel syndrome. Short bowel syndrome. And second method is we inhibit the DPP4. If we inhibit DPP4, then incretin level is increased and it leads to release of insulin. So the endings of DPP4 inhibitor were gliptin, and the endings of glucagon-like peptide 1 were glutide. Here gliptin. So these were orally drugs which were taken orally. They maintain the weights, means weight is neutral. They does not decrease or increase the weight, and there is no side effect of hypoglycemia. No hypoglycemia, no weight loss, no weight gain, and given orally. So they have ending gliptin. So Sita Vilda Allolina Dappasexa. Sita Vilda Allolina Dappasexa. Gliptin is the endings. In all these except the lina, which is safe in renal failure, and all are contraindicated in renal failure patients. All other are contraindicated in renal failure patient except the linagliptin. Except linagliptin. And the most common side effect here were nasopharyngitis and pancreatitis. Nasopharyngitis and pancreatitis. Pancreatitis, as glucagon-like peptide 1 also cause the side effect, also have the side effect acute pancreatitis, and DPP4 inhibitor also have pancreatitis side effect. Here nasopharyngitis also include. Now the second new antidiabetic drug is SGLT2 inhibitor. SGLT2 inhibitor, as we all know, in the PCT we have sodium. PCT cells we have sodium and glucose co-transporters. Sodium and glucose co-transporters. So SGLT2 inhibitor means we inhibit this pathway so that glucose does not absorb from the kidney, and it does not lead to increased level of glucose, because we inhibit this transporters. So sodium glucose co-transporter. In kidney we have SGLT2, and in intestine we have SGLT1 type. So these were ending by phlogen, means kidney क्या करती है, what does kidney do? Kidney basically filter the urine passes through it, filter our blood. Kidney basically filter our blood. So phlogen, urine is flowing through kidney, so flow. So the SGLT2 inhibitor have endings phlogen, gliflozin. Glucose flow, so glucose flowing through the kidney, because we inhibit SGLT2 inhibitor, that's why there is no absorption of glucose from these transporters. So glucose is flowing out through kidney, gliflozin. So in this we have drugs canagliflozin, dapagliflozin, empagliflozin, ertugliflozin. And basically the side effect is UTI and genital tract infection. Why the side effect has UTI infection? Because as in the urine glucose is increasing, so when glucose is increased, it gets attracted the bacteria. That's why UTI is the side effect of sodium glucose co-transporter inhibitor. And the third one is amylin analog. Amylin analog given by subcutaneous route, and amylin is used in both type 1 and type 2 diabetes mellitus. It is used in both type 1 and type 2 diabetes mellitus, and the name of the drug is amylin, amylin, AMLY, amly. So common is amylin, so we remember it by this amylin. type 1 diabetes, which two drugs we can use in both type 1 and type 2? Insulin and pramlintide. Now the fourth, the last drug is bromocriptine. In bromocriptine, it is the fourth drug, which is the new anti-diabetic drugs. Basically, it decreases the insulin resistance, and it is used in type 2 diabetes mellitus. Used in type 2 diabetes mellitus, and we give lesser amount of dose as in type 2 diabetes mellitus. So dose requirement is much lesser in type 2 diabetes mellitus, and we have to give in early morning or awakening within 2 hours. Within 2 hours of awakening, we have to give bromocriptine, and the side effect of bromocriptine is nausea. Side effect of bromocriptine is nausea. So new anti-diabetic drugs, we study about the SGLT2 inhibitors, bromocriptine, amylin, and what is the one that is inhibit glucagon-like peptide 1 and DPP4 inhibitor. Now I am going to ask you, as I told you in the starting, that I have to ask you some questions. So my first question for you all is, megaloblastic anemia is the side effect of which drug? Which drug has the side effect of megaloblastic anemia? You have to give me answer of these questions in comment section. Please do it. If you get benefit, then please. Megaloblastic anemia is the side effect of which drug? Glipizide, metformin, voglibos, and canagliflozin. If you want this answer, then please listen my lecture, because in between of this lecture I mentioned the megaloblastic anemia side effect of which drug. Now my second question is, which of the following anti-diabetic drug is neutral? Which of the following anti-diabetic drug is neutral? Weight neutral. Weight neutral. Pioglitazone, saxaglitazone, liraglitazone, or gliclazide. Which drug? Answer it. Pio, saxa, lira, or gliclazide. And my last third question is, which of the following angiotensin receptor blocker has got PPAR gamma agonist action? Agonist action. Which of these? Irbesartan, telmisartan, candesartan, olmesartan. Which drugs? I hope you all get some knowledge from this video. Thank you.